Hi, I'm Chuck Smith with the Ohio Bicycle Federation. Welcome to the OhioRAAM Show.
Well, thanks, Chuck, for that introduction. We appreciate that a lot. Chuck chairs the Ohio Bicycle Federation, which was instrumental in getting the 3-foot passing law here in Ohio. And since there's been a little misinformation about that law, we've asked Chuck to give us a little more understanding of what the law says and what it doesn't say. Take it away, Chuck.
I want to thank all of you for all of your support for our House Bill 154, which passed the Ohio Senate in December and became law on March the 21st. This law does two things. First of all, it requires that Ohio motorists leave at least 3 feet of passing clearance when passing bicyclists. Secondly, it permits any vehicle in the state of Ohio to proceed through an intersection after stopping and yielding right-of-way when not detected by that device meant to move the signal from red to green. I want to underline the fact that the vehicle must stop and yield right-of-way. This is not a license to run red lights. Thank you.
And this is the OhioRAAM Show, a show about cycling and ultra-cycling. In the past, we've come to you 3 times a month. After the summer hiatus, in the fall, we expect to do the show twice a month. We're going to make that little change, see how that works out. And my name is Lee Kreider, a host of the show, and this is show number 152. The show is sponsored by the first 2 time stations in Ohio in the race across America, time stations 41 in Oxford, Ohio, and time stations 42 in Blanchester, Ohio. These time stations are open 24 hours a day during the time the race passes by, with 24-hour food, 24-hour fuel, and 24-hour fans. We invite anybody in the area to come and enjoy the race with us. There will always be people there to talk to. For those of you who are new to the race across America, come and learn from these people who have been around for a little while. The stations are located in each of these cities next to the McDonald's restaurant. Now, the dates for this year's Race Across America: solo riders will start in Oceanside, California on the 13th of June, and then the team riders will start on the 17th of June. Here in Ohio, we will open our time stations on the 19th of June, and we will be open for the very first rider to come through, whenever that might be, probably on the 19th. And we will stay open around the clock until the last rider comes through, which will be on the 24th of June, Saturday the 24th. Come out and enjoy the race with us. We'd love to have you. On today's show, we're going to have the 4Dudes, a 4-person male team under 50 in the Race Across America. They are a part of the 3,000 Mile to a Cure program, which we've heard a lot about in the past, raising money for brain cancer. And then we're also going to have a special guest show up. So let's go see where we can find these 4 dudes. They're kind of scattered here and there across the countryside. Let's go find them. And with that, we're going to talk to the 4 dudes who are riding in the 3,000 Mile to a Cure team. And I'm going to start down here on the end, on my end, with Chris. Chris, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, Lee, it's interesting that you start with me, because out of the 4 of us, I probably have the least amount of bicycle experience, but I'm super stoked to be part of this year. I'm more of an ultra marathon runner, but I got involved with RAM last year by actually crewing Rob DeCou, who's a solo racer for 3,000 Miles to a Cure, and spending 12 days going across the country and just seeing how this event works, and the charity backer. It was just a very incredible experience and got me excited about doing RAM, probably not solo. And then I had 3 other friends that were interested in doing it too. So not really that much of an endurance cyclist, but I'm excited to learn about it and pretty pumped for this experience.
And how did you guys hook up with Maria and 3,000 Miles to a Cure?
We really hooked up with Maria and 3,000 Miles to a Cure through my friend Rob DeCou, who rode for 3,000 miles last year. So that was my first experience with them. But also Ryan, who you'll talk to, he crewed with Marshall, who's also riding for 3,000 miles to a cure. So both of us spending 12 days with the 3,000 miles team really drew us in close to this organization. And that's why when we decided to ride RAM this year, we knew that for sure we were going to be racing for 3,000 miles to a cure.
And we had Rob on the show last year, I believe, and he was a very good guest. Chris, I believe you are you told me Santa Barbara, California at the moment.
Currently here, yes. Yep, enjoying life in paradise.
And when you say currently, you never know where you might be, I guess. You live in a van.
I do. I live in a van. I prefer to say I'm not really homeless. I'm houseless, and most importantly, I'm mortgageless.
Thank you, Chris. And let's go down next to Erik. Erik Braun, you are where, Erik? And tell me about yourself.
I live in Washington, D.C. with my girlfriend and my dog, Cliff. I have been here since March. I bounced around the Northeast for a bit working on political campaigns and recently settled down here in D.C. Found myself into cycling. I was actually living in the Hudson Valley in New York, and I had recently bought a car on Craigslist, and it broke. And I decided I didn't really need a car, so I bought a road bike because I'd always talked about getting a road bike. This was 4th of July, 2014. I started riding the bike all the time. I really liked it. I decided to do a solo short tour from San Diego to San Francisco in November of 2014. In 2015, myself, Ryan, and Matt, we decided to ride our bikes across the country and go on a little adventure. So we spent the summer of 2015 riding about, 5,500 miles, 6,000 miles. I feel like it builds every time I talk about it. But so we spent the summer doing bike touring. And then when I settled down here in DC last year, I got myself a little bit faster of a road bike and trained for a half Ironman. And I did that. Now we are doing RAM.
Okay, very good. Now I'm going down here to Matt. I show your mic turned off.
Yeah, New York City. Trying to keep the New York City background noise out.
Okay, well that tells us where you're at, Matt. But tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm in Morningside Heights in the Upper West Side of New York City. Not unlike Erik, I just moved here in June of last summer after being in upstate New York for about 6 years. Was in Syracuse for a while, then Rochester. And like he said, my first real venture into long-distance cycling was in 2015 when Ryan, Erik, and I decided to ride our bikes across the country. Ryan, I can't speak for you. I think going into the first day, the furthest I had ever ridden my bicycle was maybe 45 miles. I think you had me beat. But that first day we went out, we did 82 and a half. Needless to say, I kind of caught the bug. I think also cycling was probably one of the last things left that my old man could still beat me at. So after I kind of started beating him at golf and some other things, I figured why not crush his spirits completely and get really good at riding a bike. So like Erik, I did a half Ironman after our ride, and I've gotten into some other long distance things. I got to do rim to rim to rim with a couple buddies, done the New York City Marathon. Outside of my love for endurance, any opportunity to hang out with these three dudes and to raise some money for cancer research, I'm 100% in.
Now, rim to rim, was that the Grand Canyon run that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I did it with 5 of my friends just kind of separately after I got back from our bike trip. I kind of was like, I'm never going to be in this shape again in my entire life. So even though I haven't been running for 3 months, why not run 48 miles in a day? But yeah, so I think a lot like Ryan and Erik and Chris, we've got this attitude where we like to go into things maybe a little naive with a lot of excitement and not really think about how daunting the task might be and just kind of, take it as it comes. And I think that attitude has served us well over some of our adventures because I think if we really thought about what we were getting into, we might pump the brakes just a little bit.
And where are you at, Ryan?
I am in Newburyport, Massachusetts, a little north of Boston, up here for a couple months visiting some family. Originally from upstate New York, Rochester, same as Erik and Matt. By degree, I'm an engineer, had that career for a little while, seeking a little bit more out of life than 3 weeks vacation could give me. So kind of had one of those aha moments and quit my job about 1.5 years ago. That was kind of when the big adventure was conceived with Erik and Matt to do this coast-to-coast bicycle tour, and had never done anything like that, a little bit more backpacking experience. The previous 6 months, Erik had done the trip that he mentioned, his foray into bike touring from San Diego to San Francisco. At the time, I was in the Bay Area. So I took the train down to Santa Cruz area and met him for his last day, and having never ridden a bicycle more than around town at best, joined Erik for the last 100 miles of his trip, had a blast doing it. Like Matt said, kind of caught the bug. Shortly after that, had made the decision to travel full-time for a little while, and that's when Matt, Erik, and I decided to do this coast-to-coast trip. Again, no experience doing anything like that to that scale. Put on, I think, 7 miles on my new touring rig before the big day, so I kind of anti-trained. Figure I'm going to be on the bike all summer. I'll train on the road, and it worked out. Maybe a little slower start than the other two guys, but we all made it. You know, the line I say, I didn't know if I was going to make it to Portland, Oregon, let alone Portland, Maine. You know, I didn't know necessarily what to expect. Had an absolute blast. 3 of us finished on the East Coast and took a few days to kind of visit with family and catch up, and decided to keep going. So did the first 5,000-6,000 miles with those guys, and then continued solo and ended up going down the East Coast, across the South, and then back to San Francisco, doing about a 12,000-mile loop around the U.S. And kind of midway through that trip, you know, you do anything long enough and it becomes routine. So I was trying to challenge myself a little bit more and doing long rides right through the night. Discovered this thing called RAM. I think right about 1 year ago. It was probably late January, February. And I'm like, boy, I'm in really great bike shape, being totally naive, knowing nothing about this. I'm like, I think I should do this. Did a little research. This is the thing that you need crew for. So the first person I called was my endurance athlete buddy, Chris. And it was like, hey, there's this thing called RAM. I'm thinking maybe I want to do it, but we need a crew. Would you do that for me? And he's like, oh, it's funny you should ask. My friend Rob is doing that, and I'm actually on his crew. You know, thinking through a little bit more, thought it'd be a wise idea to maybe get some experience with the event from the crew perspective before trying to do it myself. And had met Rob at the time. He was good on crew, and kind of went in the reserve pool. And, you know, life went on, and it got to be like a week before the race, and I got a call from Rob, and he said, hey, there's another guy, Marshall Reeves, doing Race Across America for 3,000 miles to a cure as well. They last minute needed a crew member. Are you available? Well, having quit my job the previous year, I was still available, and kind of changed plans and flew out to San Diego and jumped in with the crew and got to meet Maria and her wonderful organization. And I think RAAM's one of those things when you finish the race is in a crew, you're either like, this thing is incredible, I need to be part of this forever, or this was insane, I want nothing to do with it. And clearly we're here with you. So we got to do this. So the team as it is with the 4 of us is really kind of the bridging of 2 worlds. You know, and reaching out to Chris and with his endurance background and introducing me effectively to RAAM, and then the bike tour that I did with these 2 guys, Erik and Matt. You know, it's a natural kind of culmination for the 4 of us. We're envisioning a fast and light crew. Having been on a fairly fast and light crew last year, we didn't utilize hotels very often. Otherwise, we were, you know, sleeping on the ground wherever we can, and going to try to do that with our crew this year. And we've got probably about 75% of our crew locked in at this point, and we've got a number of people that we're still considering, and they're kind of looking at their schedules. So we're trying to get what we're calling a dirtbag crew. And the dirtbag mentality is getting a group of people that are happy to be uncomfortable for an extended period of time and persevere and do it with a smile on our face. So,
okay, very well. Well, in the background there, and coming to join us is none other than my good friend Maria Parker. How are you, Maria?
I'm doing great, Lee. Thanks so much for having us on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to do this. Now, you are with another 3,000 miles to a cure team. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was not my idea. Let me just start by saying that. when Ryan came to me and said that he wanted to do a 4-man team for 3,000 miles to a cure, I was just ecstatic. I really enjoyed getting to know Ryan and Chris a little bit during last year's RAAM, and I loved his attitude, just the joy and adventure. But then as soon as we had them committed to do it, my husband said, we're not letting an upright bike team do 3,000 miles to a cure and not have a cruise bike team in there. So we decided we put in a second team, all of us on cruise bikes, and school these boys on how it's done.
Maria, who else is on your team?
So we have it's a mixed over 50 team. Jim and I, my husband and I, we've got a guy named Larry Osland.
Yes, I know Larry.
Kevin from Louisville, Kentucky. Larry's from Western North Carolina. And they're just cruise bike customers who've shown themselves to be really interested in competing and really fast and good on the bike. We're all more, except for Jim, we're all more endurance people than sprinters, and it looks to me like a 4-man RAAM team is more about sprinting. So, but we'll see how it goes. I have told these guys that we're going to kick their patooties. They have no hope of crossing faster than we will, even though we're old and they're young. I'm not sure. They always laugh. They don't really believe us.
Well, Maria, your history on this race has anything to do with it. I think you might be in good stand.
I did RAAM in 2013, and I did it solo. I did it at the time. I was really angry because my sister had been diagnosed with brain cancer, and I wanted to raise money to try to cure her. There wasn't much research. There isn't much research in brain cancer, and so I decided to enter RAAM and try to raise $1 million and find a cure real quick. And RAAM was to use an overused word, an epic experience. I've had 4 children, and I compare everything to, is it harder than having a baby? Yes, it's way harder. But it felt really good to do it because I was really angry about my sister's cancer, and I wanted to do something that I felt would be transformative. So it was, it turned out we had some issues, we had some challenges, got into an accident, lost a day, but I came back and I was the first woman finisher. Got a lot of attention for brain cancer research. We raised about $70,000. Unfortunately, I lost my sister the next year to brain cancer. The kind of catch-22 on brain cancer is that the funding tends to go to cancers where there's a high incidence. The point is, we need it's an underfunded, devastating diagnosis, and we need more money. And this year's really cool to have these guys because instead of our focus being on suffering and pain, our focus is on adventure and having fun and competition. And I'm really excited to be a part of it this year. And I'm really honored that these guys would give up so much of their time and their lives.
I was going to talk about that a little later, Maria, but since we brought it up, 3,000 miles to a cure, I wanted to look at your website, and I didn't get a chance, but I believe, is there not a place there that people can donate to 3,000 miles to a cure?
There is. We have, it's 3000milestoacure.com, and you can go on anytime and donate. Right now, I just want to kind of put a plug in for the 4Dudes. The 4Dudes it's pretty expensive to do RAAM. And the 4Dudes are trying to also, at this moment, raise money that will help cover their costs. So I would encourage any business or individual who likes what they're doing to consider becoming a sponsor for the 4Dudes so that they can afford to do this thing. Once they're out there riding, we're going to raise a lot of money for research. So you can go on our website right now and donate to research, or you can go on and find out about what the 4Dudes are doing and maybe consider becoming a sponsor for their team.
And at the bottom of your screen now, you will see the link to 3000milestoacure.com, I believe it is. Also, if you're watching this show on the website at the moment, you will see a link to 3,000 Miles to a Cure right below the video in the show notes. There'll also be a link there to the Facebook page of the 4Dudes. If you're watching it somewhere else, you could just go to OhioRAAMShow.com and the links will be there. But otherwise, it's simply 3,000 miles to a cure. Maria, you are riding in the 50 to 59 age category. Is that correct?
That's right.
And these guys are riding in the under 50 category. Is that correct?
They're riding in the dude category. Isn't there a category?
And you're riding recumbents.
Right.
And they're riding standards.
Right. That's why we know we're going to beat them.
I don't think so. We're training pretty hard. I know Matt's been really crushing, Matt and Erik both on the East Coast, and Ryan and I are actually just about to take some bicycles and head down to South America, and we're going to do a little bit of bike tour training for 2 months, riding through Chile and Argentina, and we're hoping that's going to build up our legs. And I think we've just got the young, naive approach that sometimes comes through with the championship. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm getting up at 4:45 every morning. I go to the gym from 5:30 to 8:30. I'm not going to lose from lack of effort.
What we lack in effort, we
I might lose from lack of talent. and
Maria, let's hope that your race this year is somewhat less eventful than it was in 2013. We all remember that very well. And Maria, we're just so delighted that you're pursuing this. Well, I know it's a part of your passion. You've been on the show more times than I could count, and we appreciate what you're doing there. Before we call this to a halt, anything you'd like to share with us?
I feel like we're sort of turning a corner and doing 2 4-man teams. I'm just really excited. The theme this year is adventure and fun, and I think we can have an adventure and have fun while we're making a difference and bringing hope to people who've been impacted by brain cancer. So I don't know, maybe that's sort of a natural progression for me as I get further from my sister's death and I'm grieving less. That it's more to me about the hope and positive and fun, and I have to give these guys credit for that, because it wouldn't have really occurred to me that we could do it, as a team, and it could be fun because, I'm big into suffering. So I'm really grateful for these guys.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, what have you got to say for yourself before we pull the plug?
I'm excited. This is a new experience for me. I love doing things that challenge me and take me out of my comfort zone and what I'm used to. So it's all an adventure. I had a lot of fun last year. Maria even mentioned that riding Ram solo was the hardest thing she's ever done. And I know Rob DeCou that I crewed with last year said the same thing. But just crewing Rob last year was the hardest thing I've ever done. So I'm looking forward to coming back, getting on the bicycle, and seeing it from a different perspective. And I'm just super stoked.
Okay, and Erik? Super
excited to get out there June 17th. Make sure you click that button on the bottom. Give us a tax-deductible donation. We're going to raise $50,000 at least to help stop brain cancer. We will see you in California.
Matt?
I'm just going to finish actually kind of the second something Maria said. So the advent of our trip 2 years ago was I lost a loved one to a rare form of cancer also. And I think that in that first year, when I did a lot of my events, I kind of went out and kind of looked for some punishment and some stuff. As a couple of years have gone by now, I think that as I continue on these endeavors of endurance, adding this sense of fun, adventure, almost childishness to them has been really great. And I think it's a really, really good way to take things because we can still fight back, and yet we can kind of find the enjoyment in life the way that it's meant to be, and the way that those that we're kind of remembering would want us to have. So I'm so excited to do this, and I'm so excited to raise some money for 3,000 Miles to Cure, and I think we're going to crush 50 grand, guys.
Ryan?
So excited to be part of this team, and as Maria alluded to, we're very experiential based, and we're looking at this as an adventure that is going to challenge us and give us an opportunity to raise some money for a great cause that could really use it. And I think my last word I'll say is, Maria, get a good look at these faces, because you're only going to be seeing the back of our jerseys moving forward.
Well, Well, the gauntlet has been tossed down by both groups there. We'll see how that turns out. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. We just hope you raise a whole bunch of money for 3,000 Miles to a Cure and brain cancer research, that among so many other things. And we just appreciate everything you do. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
You're the best, Lee.
Well, thank you, 4Dudes, for being with us. We enjoyed that. You look like an interesting group of guys, and we hope that when the race is over, these two teams will remain friends, mostly. But we'll be watching to see how this contest turns out. Hey, be sure to visit the website, because there you'll learn more about the 4Dudes. Also, you'll see something about their sponsors, and also how you can donate to the 3,000 Mile to a Cure brain cancer research program. And while you're there at the website, be sure to check out some of the other links. There's a link there to the projected arrival dates at all the time stations across the nation, and there's a link to the rule book. Hey, you know, baseball fans know baseball rules, and football fans know football rules. I think that adds a lot to the enjoyment when you kind of know what's going on rule-wise. And I think Race Across America fans ought to know the RAM rules. And the 2017 version is up there now for you to see on our website. Check the links down there on the lower right part. And we want to thank all of you for watching. You mean so much to us. In these 5 years, we've had so many guests, but we've also had so much support from so many of you. And you have shared this program on the social media. You've given us likes and shares and retweets and all kinds of things to advance the cause of the program. It's the reason why we're here. It's the reason why we've grown. And it's the reason that ultracycling is getting a little more attention here and there. We appreciate all of you so much. We'll see all of you in about 10 days. Goodbye.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.